Zadok. The ride with Ysera was joyous and filled with hearty laughter. Despite being relegated to the back of the fun, I derived joy seeing her lay freely in Kyr's fur as he took us through the cold valley. At some point, I felt stupid for not allowing Kyr to take the reins earlier. He was more suited to take us through the cold valley than I will ever be. "I see you are getting wiser, human." Kyr's voice intruded my thoughts, and I tried not to be offended. "I didn't realize you were paying attention," I said bitterly. "Last I checked, you shut me off without a care. Jealous?" I near damned coughed blood at the audacity of this wolf. "Jealous?" I said incredulously. "What in the world am I supposed to be jealous about, Kyr?" "Me." He said it so casually that I felt like smacking his head. "We're the same person, so it's not feasible," I said before Kyr, feeling a sense of accomplishment afterwards. "Good to know you're learning," he said, and once again put up the mental barrier. I couldn't win with him. I remained silent, sulking as I watched him breeze through the valley while Ysera slept comfortably in his fur. I guessed that Kyr's fur formed a solid shield for Ysera against the biting cold, so much so that she fell asleep. Kyr's pace slowed and I pulled from my thoughts. I looked through the window of his eyes, wondering what was wrong. "Ghouls!" came the sturdy voice of Kyr. "They are here and in large numbers. I can smell them," he explained, and every atom of peace left me. Ghouls were bad news, and Ysera lay asleep on Kyr's back, totally undisturbed. They were dead spirits that escaped the underworld, roaming through the dark forest and sniffling souls from every living thing they sensed. Thankfully, as a werewolf, we learned to mask our scent using the earth, and Kyr was ready to do that, except that Ysera was still asleep and in harm's way. "How far are they?" I asked Kyr, who sniffed the air in return before answering me. "Very close. We need to do something and fast," he said with urgency in his tone. While I wrecked my head for a solution, Ysera stirred awake. As though she sensed the upcoming danger, she jumped to the ground, looking around with her hand hovering around her dagger. If only she knew how useless a knife was against ghouls. "I need to talk to her. I need to transform now," I demanded from Kyr, hoping he would understand me for once and not argue. Thankfully, he understood the gravity of the situation, and immediately I felt him rescind within me. A few crackled bones later, I stood before Ysera in my human form. "Zadok!" she exclaimed with a smile, but I shushed her off. "We don't have time. I need you to keep your mouth shut, roll on the floor and cease your breath till I tell you otherwise." Ysera did the opposite. She took out her little dagger, eyeing the surroundings warily, and muttered, "I knew something was off. What are they?" she asked, using a low tone. I didn't have time to explain. I already felt a strange coldness that seeped into my soul. They were here. I fell to the ground, dragging Ysera along with me, and in one big turn, we rolled in dust from the ground. When I noticed her mouth open, I placed my hand over her mouth, hoping she got the message my eyes passed. After a moment, I removed my hand from her mouth, and her gaze transfixed on me. I held my breath, physically puffing up so she got the memo, and like a child, she replicated my actions. We remained like that for some seconds, and the coldness grew worse. With my eyes, I begged her to persevere, to hold her breath for some time so we could go undetected by the ghouls. The plan worked, and I saw the dark shadow of a ghoul pass by us. Ysera's eyes widened when she saw the thing, and I urged her to close her eyes, using myself as an example of what she needed to do. The ghouls had no eyes. They could only tell if you were alive by your heartbeat and breathing, two of which temporarily ceased from us at the moment. Just when I thought it was over, the second shadow stopped in its tracks, and for the first time, I heard the voice of a ghoul. "Can you hear that?" it said, and the other stopped in its tracks. My eyes opened, and I found Ysera holding her breath afresh with her eyes tightly shut. She slipped up. "Hear what?" the other ghoul answered, seeming uninterested. However, the other refused to let up. "I just heard the heartbeat and breathing of something," it said, sounding sure of itself. "Maybe an animal just took its last breath." The other opined, "It's the dark forest. Things die by the second. Let's go." "No, just wait a second. If I am right, it means one more soul in the bag," he stated gleefully and walked around, kicking everything in sight. I knew that move. It was a ghoul's tactic aimed at catching anything that thought it could outsmart it by holding its breath. It was general knowledge that a ghoul would kick everything, including a dead animal, for days to ascertain it was truly dead and not pretending. And if you are wrong, you would have wasted my time. The other one added in a sour tone. If something was living out here, don't you think I would hear it too? We already spent a couple of hours at the forest's heart. So please, cut it out. It's not funny. At the mention of the forest's heart, I let out a shocked breath, and the ghoul exclaimed, I heard it again. Did you hear? There's something out here. I need to find where it's hiding and give it the beating of its life before stealing the soul. I held my breath and sweat dripped from my face. The ghoul was coming this way. Zadok. The ghoul threshed till it was a few feet away from me. Ysera's face was red from holding her breath for so long. I couldn't describe how I felt the more it came close to me with its deathly cold aura. Just when I thought it was all over, the other ghoul exclaimed, I hear it. It certainly came from this way, it said, sniffing the air. It's a bear. The ghoul stood away from me and said, Who cares about a bear when you can find something more profitable? It sneered. I'm close to finding what it is. I can feel it right underneath my nose. My heart seized at its comment because we were right under his nose. If you are not interested in partnering with me, just say so. Enough of your stupid acts. Are you trying to get on my nerves? The other one said, sounding offended. I heard a tired sigh, but I feel there is something here. Please give me a few minutes before we go after the bear, it asked, shocking me with the sincerity in its tone. I will not give up another kill for another one of your better options. I'll be hunting down the bear. You know where to find me when you are done playing around. It said, and just like that, left the other ghoul standing right in front of us. It was a struggle for him, lost between trying to follow its hunch and a real opportunity to get a catch. After hesitation, I watched the ghoul move slowly away from us, walking toward the direction of the other. They were gone within a minute, and just like that, we survived. I let myself breathe, as did Ysera, who I realized was entangled under me. We've been in this position the whole time, but it didn't matter because we were trying to preserve our lives. However, that wasn't the case anymore, and with that knowledge came an intimacy I couldn't explain. Are you all right? I asked, helping her up. Ysera dusted her clothes and nodded. For some reason, she avoided my eyes as she dusted her clothes. I wondered if she was upset. What's wrong? I asked again and tilted her head so she met my eyes. She shook her head. Nothing. Just a bit startled, that's all. She cleared her throat. It's not every day you get to stare death in the face and survive to tell the story. I wanted to make a joke and say, welcome to the dark forest, but I knew better. Instead, I nodded with understanding and silently led us out of the cold valley. So Kier is your other half? Ysera asked for the 9th time, and I nearly pulled the hair out of my head. Something like that. I grimaced. Just call him my better half, I said, hastening my steps to avoid more questioning. Ysera didn't seem to get the memo. She chased after me like no man's business and continued her terror in the form of questions. How do you guys talk to each other? She asked. I mean, he does communicate with you, right? Yes. My answer was dragged and tired. Maybe I should invite him out since you are curious about him. I'm sure he will be happy to take the lead. Ysera's face warmed. She was embarrassed, and I felt like a dick for making her feel that way, but I couldn't stand any more Kier-related questions. Jealous. A voice I know too well breathed in my mind, and I nearly lost it. Oh yeah, I answered, sounding bitter. What's there to be jealous about? Newsflash, you are a part of me. If she's curious about you, that's just because you are a part of me, so don't go about feeling so special. I ranted but met with silence. Great, I was getting snubbed by my wolf. We got to the top of a mountain, and looking down, it was all rocks. I looked over the map, affirming I was in the right spot before I broke the news to her. Welcome to the Dark Caves, I announced, wrapping the map into my side. According to legend, it was the most easy and complicated part of the forest. How do you know all of that? Ysera asked, genuinely curious. When you've spent the better part of your life researching and planning to visit the dark forest, there's only so much you wouldn't know, I answered with a huff, and led the way. With my calculations, one day should be enough to get us out of here if there are no mishaps. Ysera followed behind me. And if there are mishaps, she asked, getting into step with me, let's just pray we don't experience any. It's been quite a ride, don't you agree? That brought a smile to her face, and I patted myself on the back for achieving such a feat. Cheers to many more of those beautiful Ysera smiles. Together we began our journey into the dark caves. I lit a torch at the gates and led us through the cave. In this cave, there's only one rule. I lectured as we entered deep into the cave. Keep your hands to yourself, and you'll be fine. What does that mean? Ysera asked. I didn't miss the way she folded her hands at my instruction. An obedient little girl. News has it that there are a lot of treasures packed in the caves of the dark forest, every piece with their guardian. It's not news that dark forest caves are a trap for the greedy. Hence the saying, keep your hands to yourself, and you'll be fine. I wonder what treasures it holds that could make one so greedy to gamble with their life. Ysera huffed. You've got to be silly to get through all the horrors living in the valleys, only to fall cheaply because of greed. Don't be too quick to judge, I said, stopped in my tracks, and took in the sight before me. I just think that. Ysera didn't finish her words. She took in the sight, standing beside me, short of words. Suddenly it made sense. Why do people fall cheaply at the hands of the dark caves? Who wouldn't fall at the sight of such glory? Ysera. I couldn't believe my eyes. Golden coins, sparkling jewels, mirrors, and other priced artifacts simmered in their millions. A hidden treasure cave. Calm down, Zadok said. Remember, we don't touch anything. He swallowed. We will be fine if we don't touch anything. He repeated, but my jaws were on the floor, and I didn't think they were coming up soon. How did this get here? I asked the question that plagued my mind. Just how many years has it been hidden here? I don't know, perhaps 1,000 years, he suggested, sounding perplexed. Who knew there was something good in this forest? No wonder people risked their lives to come here. Zadok took a step forward, and I followed him. I don't think there are any records of this place in the dark forest. There would be more people seeking to try their luck at wealth, assuming there was such information. I stopped by a treasure chest sitting on a rock. It feels so unreal, I said, eyeing the glittering contents. Whatever you do, don't touch anything, Zadok warned. I have a bad feeling about this cave. Hopefully, we get out of them before the day runs out. I nodded my head and followed him as we journeyed through enough money that could serve for many generations. At some point, I felt the gold call at me. I shook my head, hoping I was hearing things, but Zadok confirmed my assumptions. Did you hear that? He asked in a low tone, and my eyes widened. You heard it too? I thought I was losing it. I answered, feeling relieved that I wasn't hearing things. These things are enchanted. That must be why this cave is the most dangerous place in the forest. I can feel the darkness within it. Zadok quickened his steps. Just in case they are truly enchanted, then we need to get out fast. Don't look at the treasures. Keep your eyes on the path. All right. I did as he said, wondering how eye contact would influence the enchantments if they were truly enchanted. I didn't have the liberty to ask questions. I decided to leave it for later. We continued in a comfortable silence until I heard a very familiar voice call out to me. Ysera. That was my mother. I knew that voice even in my sleep. I turned around, and my eyes immediately spotted a mirror glass. Its edges glowed with precious jewels, and the more I stared at it, the more alluring it became. Don't touch anything. Zadok's warning rang in my head, and I turned around, taking a huge breath. Ysera, please, save us! I heard my mother's voice again. This time around it was loud, clear, and frantic. Her voice sounded so distressed that it ebbed at the chords of my heart. Without a second thought, I turned around and came face to face with her. Mom? I stuttered, unable to believe my eyes. Her eyes brimmed with unshed tears. We are dying. The wall is too weak. Help us, she said from the glowing mirror. My heartbeat increased. I rushed to the mirror, wondering how it was that I was seeing my mother. What do you mean? I asked, eyes open and ears rapt for attention. We don't have much time, Ysera. If you can see this, you are in the dark forest, on a mission to save us all. Please hurry, or it would all be in vain. Her words were a stab to my heart. Before I could respond, she disappeared, leaving the mirror empty and reflecting my face. "No! Come back!" I cried and grabbed the mirror. "Ysera, no!" Zadok was too late because I had taken the mirror from its position. I was already a thief. "Zadok," I cried, feeling a burn in my heart. "My mother, she was right here." I struggled to speak. "I just saw her a moment ago. My clan is in danger," I sobbed. "Drop it, Ysera," he said in a calm voice. "I already broke the rule. You need to go before something bad happens to us both. Don't be silly. Drop it and let's go," he urged, slowly coming towards me. I didn't know what came over me, but I couldn't let go. At that moment, I believed I deserved to die, and I couldn't let Zadok die with me. "Don't come close," I said, taking a few steps back. "Then drop it, or I swear to whatever you hold dear, I will pry it off your hands." His tone was frustrated as well as serious. To stop him from doing anything stupid, I dropped the mirror. It fell on the ground, breaking in half. "Dang it! You couldn't have let it down more softly?" Zadok asked in an exasperated tone. "Let's get out of here," I said, suddenly feeling brave. Zadok did a double take but nodded shortly after. He grabbed my hand and immediately took off in a sprint. I joined him, running from nothing in particular. Running with Zadok brought an exhilarating feeling, like I was untouchable, on top of the world. "Oh no, you don't," a fierce voice said from behind us, and I heard the sound of 1,000,000,000 coins hitting on themselves. The noise was so much that it stopped Zadok in his tracks, and I covered my ears with my hands. What in the world? Run. 3 letters and 1 word. I took off with Zadok, gunning for the cave's door a few meters away. We would be running for a while. Suddenly, a strong wind blew through the cave, taking us off our feet. "It's been a while since I met another one of you greedy humans," it said. While I tried to get on my feet, another wind blew through the cave, making a joke of our attempts at getting up. This time, I fell on my back, and with shock, I realized it was no ordinary wind. Standing before me was a black dragon, who was anything but pleased to see us. A hybrid? He cocked its head to the side, and its fangs bared in an evil smirk. Even better. The dragon picked me up with its feet, and I was up in the air in seconds. "Ysera!" I heard the far cry of Zadok, who was a few feet below us. "Don't leave me," I cried, never taking my eyes from him. At that moment, I realized that the thought of never seeing him again was worse than the probability of losing my life. "Zadok!" I watched in horror as the dragon took Ysera farther and farther away from me. "Wait! Please! Don't kill her!" I screamed with all my might, praying that the dragon heard and reconsidered its decision, all to no avail. Instead, the dragon took her up to the roof of the cave and threw her into what seemed like a reef at the top of the rocks. "Not yet," I heard the cackle of the dragon. "Sometimes it gets lonely over here. I mean, it's once in 1,000 years before I can meet visitors in the dark forest." He snickered. "And that's not because there haven't been a lot of them, but because they weren't lucky enough to get here." The dragon descended and sat proudly on the mountain of treasures. So you can imagine my surprise when I saw 2 suspecting individuals threading my territory with every plan of crossing over without saying hi. "Let her go," I growled, not in the mood for his story time. The dragon hissed, "I'll be careful if I were you, because even if you haven't touched anything of mine, and I have no legal ground to hold you, I have something precious of yours that I could do with as I please." It let out a roll of fire for good measure. "Get out of here while you can, wolf. I have nothing to do with you, unless you touch what's mine," it added evilly. Before I could muster up a response, the dragon took to its heels, flying so far up that I could barely see its form. It had been there all along, waiting for us to make a mistake before making an appearance. My eyes found the high reef that held Ysera hostage, and I decided to climb for it. My journey was useless without her, and I'd die before I let her perish in this darned cave. It seemed like the heavens were against me this time, because as soon as I began climbing, the caves rocked from above, and stones fell like hail from the sky. Desperate to take cover, I hid myself by a corner, shielded by a rock above my head. When I thought I had seen the worst, I came out of hiding, warily searching the space above my head for any signs of the dragon or Ysera. "Zadok!" I heard the panicked voice of Ysera miles above me. "Are you all right? Are you alive?" Desperation and concern in her tone. I needed to get to her. "Still there?" I heard the unfriendly voice of the dragon, and I took cover by the side of the cave. Suddenly, everywhere became hot, like a burning larva at the top of my head. I looked up and was greeted by the burning flames from the dragon, pouring down like a waterfall. For the first time, I stared death in the face, and within a second, I took to my heels, running for cover. As a result of the blaring fire, the coins and treasures were sizzling hot, making it hard for me to run at ease. I ran away from the fire that chased me down. Soon enough, it became clear what it was trying to do. I came face to face with the door that led out of the cave, and when I tried to make a curve for it, the dragon released more fiery breath, trapping me with no way to go but out. His message was clear. The dragon wanted me out of the cave, and if I refused to obey, it would cost me my life. Another blast of fire pushed me outside the cave, painfully landed on my butt. "And stay out," I heard the dragon say, and I got up on my feet. I hastened to get up and heard a loud rumble inside the cave. I watched in horror as the cave door was blocked by fallen rocks, trapping me outside and leaving Ysera alone with the god-forsaken dragon. I toured the cave for another entrance, but to no avail. By dusk, I was tired, frustrated, and nearly lost hope of ever getting to see Ysera again. My stomach growled, and I saw the darkening sky above me. I hadn't eaten anything for an entire day, and I doubted I could swallow anything with my state of mind. I needed help. For the first time in a long while, I hoped to reach Shilhi. Nothing in the ancient witch's book spoke of how I could retrieve a person stolen by a century-old dragon, or get into a dark cave locked by the said dragon. I let out a loud growl, and my wits were slipping. Kyr was in a terrible mood. When I felt his burning anger at what he believed to be me abandoning Ysera in the caves, I let a wall come up between us, blocking my head from his furious thoughts. A light passed by me, and I traced it to a shadow standing by an oak tree. My eyes narrowed as I watched it turn into the form of a woman with long blonde hair. Its beauty was ethereal, so much that it stung my eyes to look at such fairness. I thought I'd seen it all, but it gradually became a troll, getting so ugly that I could barely look at its horrendous appearance. I stood a safe distance from the strange creature and got ready to fight if the need arose. Just when I thought I'd seen it all, I heard it laugh so hard that it struck a chord. I knew that laugh. There was only one creature I knew that had such an annoying laugh, the Syrian, the most knowledgeable being to have walked the earth. Bingo. Without a second thought, I got on my feet and sneaked up to the beast while it shape-shifted into different animals and laughed into my hands. "Hello," I said when I was close enough. The alarmed look on the face of the Syrian told me it wasn't expecting to see me, which was good news because I didn't expect to see it either. Perhaps the goddess decided I had suffered enough and sent me a solution on a platter of gold. Before the Syrian could disappear, I caught it by the arm, and an evil smirk graced my face. "Not so fast, buddy. Leave me alone. I don't have anything to do with you. Just let me be." The Syrian screeched, but I was far too gone to care. I made a thinking position and answered casually. "How about no," I opined, holding it tighter. "I don't wish to do you harm. Just a little help and we'll both be on our way. What do you say?" "Zadok, leave me alone," the Syrian screeched as I dragged it to the entrance of the cave. "Wrong answer," I said, brimming with anger. "You are going to tell me how to get back into this cave and rescue my partner from that dragon, or I swear it, you will breathe your last today." The Syrian struggled from my hold to no avail. One thing about the Syrian was that it was powerless against people. Its power lies in its knowledge and ability to transform into anything. It was a very rare being that used its knowledge to preserve its life in dire situations. Everyone needed a Syrian at some point due to its rareness and wisdom. People tended to keep it hostage and force it to serve their purposes. Over time, things changed, and for a mysterious reason, the Syrians received the ability to escape from the hands of their captor after answering a question as decided by the captor. You already know the truth. There's no going back in the dark forest, just going forward. It snapped. However, I wasn't satisfied. The same way you will not escape my hands today, I promised, and my claws elongated, as did my fangs. "Wait, please don't kill me." The The Sirion reacted when it saw I was serious with my threats. Kier was inside my head, badgering and causing a ruckus, wanting to be released. "I don't have time for jokes. Get to it already." I snarled and nudged the sealed cave door. "How do I get in there and get her back?" I asked, desperation in my tone. "There is only one way, but that is near impossible, so you might as well forget about her." My hands found their way to the neck of the Sirion and tightened around it. I watched as the beast turned blue, gasping for air. "I didn't hear you correctly," I said, pressing harder. I let go of him when he raised his hands in surrender, seeking an audience. "I'll tell you," it coughed. "There's only one way to get her back. You must exchange her for a more precious gift, a gift more precious than the one she broke." "And how do I get back in there?" "Simple. Get the gift, and the dragon will naturally open the doors of his cave." It breathed. "The dragon is greedy and the cave's guardian. Only he can grant entrance back into the cave, and the only way to trick it into doing that is by bearing something of value." I nodded my head, deep in thought. "Good luck getting something he doesn't already have, Alpha," the Syrian said in a mocking tone and immediately disappeared. "Shit," I cursed when I realized it was gone. Its last words rang in my head as I looked over the empty lands before me. What would I get in place of Ysera? The Syrian's words proved to be true. I scoured the lands around the cave, searching for something presentable and precious enough in place for the broken enchanted mirror, but to no avail. The scorching sun placed me in a terrible mood, and my failure to secure something became a sore in my mind. I couldn't let Ysera die. Leaving her in the hands of the dragon was tantamount to leaving her for death. My stomach grumbled, and a biting pain followed it. Hunger ate at the pit of my stomach, and I couldn't even find a bunny around to quench it. Suddenly, I heard the sound of rushing water and followed it. Soon enough, I squatted on the bank of a flowing river, scooping up water and drinking it, effectively quenching my thirst. I filled some reserve for the journey ahead and lay on the bank of the river, hoping an idea would hit me on what to do. A few minutes after I laid down with my thoughts, I heard the bushes shake, and my fist covered the helm of my sword, ready for any unpleasant surprises. Just when I wanted to seek out the traitor in the bushes, it hopped out, and I nearly laughed at the innocence of the rabbit that would serve as my lunch and dinner. I watched the unsuspecting animal drink from the riverbank, and when it was ready to leave, I was there in time to end its life. I took a good look at the kill. Shame it isn't presentable enough for the dragon. However, it will do just fine in satiating the hunger in my stomach, I thought, picking it up and placing it in a bag. Soon enough, I started a fire and roasted the meat till it was edible. Settling down by the closed cave, I ate part of the meal, keeping some for Ysera. I left my things by the closed cave and headed for the river. While I approached the river, a beautiful sight caught my eye. I saw the back of a caped person with a pointy ear, but that was beside the point. I was more interested in the object in his hands, a golden globe enclosed in a glass shell. My eyes nearly popped out of my sockets when I watched the person quickly put the globe by the side and pour out the contents of a backpack it carried. The floor shone as various precious stones poured to the ground, shining as light. Unconsciously, I moved forward, trying to get a better look at the items on the floor, but ended up kicking a stone and drawing attention to myself. The person turned around immediately, eyes searching the area until he met with mine. With an alarmed look, the goblin picked up the sack and quickly started putting all the items, but he was too late. I caught him by the neck, and in one powerful push, he fell face first on the floor, leaving me with his bag of treasures. "Let me go! Those do not belong to you!" The goblin cried, but I didn't care. The goblin must have stolen the items. "Neither is it yours," I growled, and its eyes widened. My gaze altered between him and the cave, and everything suddenly made sense. He stole these items. What better way to satiate a dragon than recovering his stolen possessions and handing over a peace offering as a bonus? "Zadok! No! Please don't take me there. I only just escaped," the goblin cried as I dragged him towards the cave, carrying his bag at my back. "I don't care, I need to get my partner, and if catching a jewelry thief will get the desired result, then so be it." "The dragon doesn't care about this. I got it out a few decades ago. He has long forgotten about it, the goblin explained, but I didn't care. Let's find out then. I dragged the goblin to the front of the closed entrance, holding him down tightly. I stood till I realized I didn't know what to do. I told you, the goblin said. I hold no value to him, neither do my possessions. Let me go already. I stayed silent, looking at the closed door, waiting for some miracle to enable me to trade the goblin, all to no avail. My shoulders sank, and I contemplated if the goblin wasn't valuable enough to recover my Ysera. Just when I thought it was over, a rumble rocked the cave, and slowly the rocks that blocked the entrance rolled away, making a pathway inside the cave. Don't be in haste to speak, I said. Without a second thought, I dragged the goblin into the cave. Okay, you're right. I accept, the goblin said in a whispering voice. You don't have to do this. I can help you get something more valuable for the dragon, it begged. Just please, don't take me to him. Too late, a loud voice which I knew too well said from the head of the cave. What do we have here? The dragon asked while I searched for where the voice came from. Show yourself, I yelled, feigning confidence. I have a deal for you. That I can see, the dragon said, and a mighty wind blew through the cave, throwing down rocks. I see you did your homework on me. Very impressive, I must say. The dragon flew down and stood before me with its mighty wings bare. I fought the fear that came at the thought of its fire. I pushed the goblin in front of him, holding him down. This is a goblin. I caught him. I am offering him in place of my partner. The dragon looked at me and then at the goblin before him. I didn't think I would be seeing you any time soon, thief. The goblin shook under me and I felt pity on its behalf. However, it wasn't enough to stop me from bidding it in exchange for Ysera. Give Ysera to me, and he's all yours. I negotiated with a taut voice. The dragon let out a breath, and smoke oozed from his nostrils. As exciting as that offer is, I prefer the girl. My heart broke at his verdict. I will catch this thief at a later time. Don't you know the saying? Once a thief, always a thief. The dragon flapped its wings and took up the air. You can see yourselves out. Wait, I called, stopping him in his tracks. What is it this time, wolf? He sounded aggravated. I threw the bag of treasures on the floor, letting it pour out its precious content. Add this to the goblin, I breathed. Give Ysera back to me. The dragon returned to its former position and looked through the bag's contents. They are quite precious, he remarked, and I quickly packed them back into the bag. Don't be stingy. He tsked, and a stone fell from the sky, blocking the way of the goblin that tried to run away. See, I just prevented your prisoner from deserting you. My jaws clenched, and I dragged the goblin to his position, holding him tighter this time around. Give Ysera to me, and it's all yours. I gritted, tired of the conversation. The dragon made a thinking noise, and after much contemplation, it finally spoke. No deal. Frustration ebbed in my heart as he took off to the air again, leaving me to my devices. Wait, I called and brought out my last card. If he refused this, then I was truly fucked. I brought out another bag that held the golden globe in a glass. Within a second, the dragon returned, sniffing the air. Gold. He seethes, eyes focused on the bag in my hand. Let me see it, he demanded, impatience in his tone. It was my turn to be wooed. Not until you give her to me. A breath of fire went out his nostrils, and his eyeballs dilated. What did you say? Exactly what you heard, I growled. You can only see it when you return her to me. And what if I don't like its content? What if you gave me a defective item? How can it be a fair transaction? The dragon asked, anger evident in its tone. No one said anything about being fair, I said. Life isn't fair. Well said. The dragon huffed. But if you refuse me to see what is inside the bag, I will have to reject your offer and keep the hybrid to myself. She's not a hybrid, I found myself defending. And you will not see what is inside this bag until you hand her to me. And if I refuse, then I will scour the dark forest, collecting every precious beast or item and bringing them until the day I die, I said with all conviction, meaning every word. A brief silence ensued between us as my words stood in the air. Well played, wolf, the dragon said, seeming impressed. I am interested in the item in your bag, and you know it. So let's call a truce. His eyes fixated on me. Hand over the bag, and I will make it so you don't need her to fulfill your mission anymore. My eyes went wide at his proposal. What are you talking about? I stuttered, unable to understand what he meant. I reckon you need the girl to be successful in your mission here. His eyes narrowed at me. What if I told you another way you could fulfill your destiny and get out of this place without getting to the heart of the forest? In exchange for one small little thing. His tone was patronizing. The bag, Ysera. I watched Zadok as he looked between the bag and the dragon. Please don't fall for it, I prayed as I walked around the cave, shielding my presence with the mountains of treasures. Decide already, Wolf, I heard the dragon say. What will it be? I don't have all day. I want the girl, Zadok said after a while. I don't need anything else but the girl. Give her to me, and we have a deal. The cave shook with the bark of the dragon's laughter. How foolish! Foolish! Foolish wolf. If only you knew what that witch is hiding from you, then you wouldn't make a decision as careless as this, he said, and I prayed that Zadok would see through its schemes. Give her to me. Zadok's stance was strong. Give her to me or forget about it. The dragon let out a blaze of fire in my direction. The mountain of gold blazed at the fire, and I resisted the urge to scream out of pain. I couldn't let him know I had escaped. Are you threatening me, Alpha? The dragon breathed, standing on its feet. Let her go, Zadok repeated without fear. I felt scared on his behalf. I had seen the bones of people in the prison he'd kept me in. I didn't need a soothsayer to know they had died from abandonment. They were trapped with nowhere to go and eventually passed on as prisoners. The dragon didn't even care to check on them. All it cared about was adding new items to its treasures and tricking unsuspecting individuals. He was a mastermind, and I was sure he had no way of helping Zadok find his way out. Instead, he would trick him like he did me, taking the item and Zadok's freedom. Fine, the dragon said, shocking me to the bones. I give her back to you, he gritted. Now, give me the bag, he said in desperation. Not so fast, bud, Zadok said. I need to see her first. Bring her before my eyes, and when we get out, you can have it. You are biting more than you can chew, the dragon roared, shaking the cave with fury. Give me the bag and have the girl while I'm nice. This is business. Give and take. Zadok replied, maintaining his stance. The dragon laughed. This time it sounded light-hearted, but I knew it was the calm before the storm. You caught me, it said. I don't know where she is, Wolf. I must have lost her somewhere inside the cave. You can look around. I'm sure she is hiding somewhere. You did what? Zadok thundered with his voice. What do you mean you can't find her? You took her. And I said I lost her. The dragon bellowed. You have yourself a deal. Find her, and she is yours. Now give me the bag. I don't do business that way. I already told you to hand over the girl. When we are safely out of your cave, then you get the bag. I think you may have forgotten whose territory you are treading, Wolf. The dragon said with blazing eyes, Since you have refused to do this the easy way, you leave me no choice. It let out a breath of fire, and it was raining rocks. I dodged one of the rocks in an attempt to save my life, but ended up dragging their attention. Ysera, Zadok cried when he saw me. How are you doing? He asked. Before I could muster up a reply, the dragon spoke. So that's where you've been hiding. Who would have thought? He said in a dramatic tone. There and then, I knew he was aware of my presence. Why did he make up those stories? Happy reunion to you two lovebirds, the dragon said, then skid. Unfortunately, no one is leaving this cave. He announced, Smart, isn't it? Why take one when I can have it all? A wolf, a hybrid, the thief, and my precious stones. We had a deal. Let us go, and you can have your things. That was Zadok. Don't you get it? You all belong to me now. I don't have to pick because everything is mine. Ysera, Zadok said, pointing towards the opening of the cave. Run, he ordered, and I obeyed, running towards the opening. Not so fast. The dragon thundered and flapped its wings. It hit the side of the cave, and rocks tumbled, falling in their numbers. I was undeterred by the rocks that rained. I ran towards the opening, dodging the rocks, till I got to the open entrance of the cave. Zadok, let's go! I called out to him, but he was too busy, transforming into a wolf, Kier. You must be stupid to think you can defeat me with that dog of yours, the dragon said, angered. I'll show you just how mistaken you are. A scream left my mouth, and my eyes widened when the dragon sent Kier flying and hitting the wall with one throw. A terrible sound of bone cracking hit the air, and tears pooled in my eyes. Kier whimpered in pain as he rolled to the ground. "Please," I shouted when the dragon made to roast him using his fiery fire. "Please, I'll do anything. Don't hurt him," I begged, meaning every word. "Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do for me. You already belong to me, so maybe this would teach you not to misbehave moving forward." I fell to my knees. "Please, there has to be something I can do. Something we can do." "We," the dragon said, his eyes confused. "Yes, we," Zadok said from behind him, holding a sword in his hands. The dragon huffed and turned around, ready to end Zadok, but he was too late. Before he could muster up a puff of fire, Zadok rose to the air in a big jump and thrust his sword directly into the dragon's heart. A loud cry that shook the cave erupted from the dragon, but it didn't stop Zadok. I watched Zadok twist the knife into the dragon's heart, and it swallowed his entire arm. With one pull, Zadok retracted his arm, and blood poured out of the dragon's gaping heart. "Let's go!" Zadok yelled. "This place is falling apart." I rushed to the entrance, waiting for Zadok, who was limping. The dragon fell with a thud, and more rocks fell, threatening to close our only chance of survival. Seconds rolled by, and a rock fell on Zadok, flattening him on the ground. My reaction was instant. I rushed to him and helped him up. We walked towards the opening, and it was nearly closed up. I pushed the rocks, giving him space to climb out, and just when the opening was about to seal, I crossed over, falling on my butt beside Zadok. We remained like that for a while, catching our breaths and holding hands. "We made it," I said, close to tears. "You came back for me." I breathed, "Thank you." Zadok's lips tilted in a smile. "I will always come back for you, mi amore," he said, and I laughed between my tears. "Don't cry, you should be proud. We just slayed a dragon." He joked, and I cried even harder. "Ysera." Zadok and I spent the night camped very close to a river. After everything we've been through, we resolved to rest and continue our journey the next day. "I needed that," I said, joining him beside the fire after having a much-needed bath. "That river has got to be the best thing we've experienced since we came to this forest." He joked, and I smiled in agreement. I looked at Zadok and I felt my heartbeat increase. I couldn't pinpoint how exactly I felt for him. He managed to diffuse every doubt I had about him and the werewolf community. But why was I still afraid to trust him with everything? I couldn't shake off the guilt in my heart, knowing that I was keeping something from him when he so bravely fought for my life, even when he had an opportunity to bail out. "What are you thinking about?" Zadok jolted me from my thoughts, watching me with keen eyes. "Nothing serious," I said, bowing my head. Zadok sat close to me and took my hands in his. "I want to hear it." He raised my jaws with his hand. "Tell me." "Why?" I asked, still not meeting his eyes. "What? Why didn't you bail out? Why didn't you let me go?" I asked, needing to know his reason. I needed to know if I could trust him, because we are in this together. We are partners, remember? I wasn't convinced. You had an opportunity to continue with this journey without me. Heck, he could have handed the ghost orchid to you, and you wouldn't need to continue in this darned forest again. You don't believe that liar, do you? It was all a game. He said so himself. Zadok said, and even if he were speaking the truth, I would never be interested. Either I do this with you or don't do it at all. The sincerity and passion behind his voice were my undoing. Knowing he followed me with such a sincere heart made me feel worse. What happened when I eventually got my powers and took the orchid for myself? How broken will he be when he finds out I haven't been sincere with him? Ysera, Zadok called, tightening his grip on my hand. I can never leave you. It hurts my heart to think that you may have doubted my returning to get you even for a second. I couldn't bear it anymore. What happens when we get to the forest's heart? What happens when we need to face off to get the orchid at the end of the day? You had an opportunity. Zadok placed a hand on my lips, effectively shutting me up. Don't say it. A frustrated sigh escaped my lips, and I got on my feet, needing some space between us. It's inevitable. There's no use denying the reality. Zadok got on his feet. There's no use stirring these waters. When we get to that bridge, we will cross over it. For now, we are partners, and hell will freeze before I let anything happen to you. Is that clear? I didn't budge. Do I need to use other ways to get you to open that mouth of yours? because I can think of quite a few," he said, coming dangerously close to me. Okay, I said when his hands circled my waist. "Good. Be a good girl and go to bed. We have a big day ahead of us." We were ready to take on the forest the next morning. Zadok and I walked through the dark forest, and soon we were in the maze of truth. "It's hardly a maze," I said, observing the empty land before me. "It's the dark forest, Ysera. It should be a sin for anything to be normal around here," he remarked, leading the way. "I think it should be named the Desert of Truth, except it can't pass for a desert with this atmosphere," I opined, getting into step with Zadok. "I genuinely don't care about what it is named, Ysera. I just hope we don't get to see any more creatures. I'd appreciate a safe journey through," he said, looking through the book. "From my deductions, this should be the longest walk yet and the last place before we get to the forest's heart." I couldn't explain how I felt. "Are you serious?" I asked in a soft tone. Zadok looked up and our eyes connected. "Yes." A brief moment passed between us and he shrugged. "The good news is that there are no known creatures or beasts that inhabit the area." He looked through the empty sparse of land and added, "For obvious reasons, so we can journey with rest of mind knowing we won't be caught unaware by any profaned beast." "That's so strange," I remarked, moving faster. "I would think the deadliest beast will be hanging out very close to the heart." I exchanged looks with him, for obvious reasons. "You can't blame them. What's deadlier than a century-old dragon? That was tailor-made to send every traveler to their death." "And yet you killed it," I added, proud of the man before me. "We killed it," he said, and I felt butterflies in my stomach. "Yeah, we did." We continued our journey silently and accompanied one another when the worst happened. I knew we were wrong to think that it would be a free ride to the heart of the forest. Suddenly, a man wearing a black cape appeared before us, with a black glow around him. Zadok bared his claws, having buried his knife in the dragon's heart. "I mean no harm," the man declared and let down his cape. "Alpha Zadok Kir Roman," he called with an evil smile. "Never imagined I'd see the day you come into this forest." His gaze moved to me. "Not to talk of bringing a witch with you. I don't know who you are, neither do I care to know, but I promise to get rid of you if you don't get out of our way." Zadok growled, his fangs elongating as well as his claws. "Easy, Alpha," he said with a smirk. "I have no problem with you." His gaze returned to me. "I just wanted to see for myself. I needed to see if her powers were restored." "What are you talking about?" Zadok asked, confusion in his tone. "You didn't know?" He laughed. "But of course she won't tell you. She's a witch after all." The Cape Man teased, leaving me in the middle of the ocean. "I wish you a fruitful journey, Alpha." His gaze flickered to me, and he let out a mocking laugh. "Good luck, Zadok." Ysera has been oddly quiet since the Cape Man showed up. I didn't think anything of the man's words, but with her body language, I felt something was off, making me wonder if something was wrong with her. "Are you all right?" I finally asked when I couldn't bear the silence anymore. "Is there something you need to say?" Ysera's face turned sour. "What? You don't trust me anymore? Is that it?" She snapped. "I never said that." I palmed my face, thinking of the best way to approach the conversation. "You've not been yourself since he showed up and spewed something concerning getting powers. Should I not be concerned?" "Please, Zadok," she began. "I don't want to talk right now, okay?" I felt a bolt in my guts. "I need you to say something, Ysera. I don't like the way I am feeling right now, and I suggest you put me out of my misery and explain what the fuck is going on." My voice raised towards the end of my words, and I saw her wince. My first instinct was to apologize, but I withheld myself from doing anything as I waited for her answer. Ysera eventually spoke, breaking my heart with every word. "You know what? Yes, the man was right. I am on a journey to recover my powers. Yes, I hid it from you because I didn't trust you enough to tell you. What now, huh? What are you going to do?" "Kill me," she said, standing in my face. "You see why you should have left me when you had the chance? I had my plans. I could have survived all right, but you just had to play hero." For the first time in a long time, I felt like a knife was struck to my heart. "What are you saying?" I muttered, still trying to comprehend the meaning behind her words. "Listen, I don't want to make this any more harder than it needs to be. This is the last place before we get to the forest's heart. Let's just stop this foolery and be the enemies we ought to be. Now I was mad. Enemies, I growled. You think we are enemies? After everything we've been through, you still think I care about some damn fight between our kinds? Are you seriously kidding me? Yes, enemies. That's all we are. We can't be anything else. You want to find your mate, and I want to save my clan. We both need the ghost orchid, and there's only one of it. Who cares about the fucking ghost orchid? You can have it for all I care. You deceived me, lied to my face, and planned to get your powers behind my back. He listed. I told you everything there is to know. I was vulnerable to you and protected you as I would my mate. But what did you do? You lied to my face and pinned it down to some stupid rivalry. Why do you care about the fact that I want to get back my powers? Ysera said, It's not like it affects you in any way. If you were truly willing to give up the ghost orchid, then what exactly are we fighting for? My fingers combed through my hair and frustration grew within me. You don't get it, do you? This isn't about the darned ghost orchid. This is about you betraying my trust. I yelled, feeling the pain in my chest increase. I knew I shouldn't have trusted you. I went against everything I believed and singled you out as someone I could trust, and this is what you do? Ysera opened her mouth, but no words came out. At least she had the decency to be ashamed of herself. You know what? Let's end this. I gestured between us. Whatever this is, it ends now. I can't believe I have been deceived by a witch again. I muttered, unable to believe that this was happening. Zadok, please. It's Alpha Zadok to you. I growled, and try not to utter my name from that cursed mouth of yours. I might not be as forgiving. We are enemies after all. I didn't wait to see her reaction or hear her try to call for me again. I walked forward, leaving her rooted to her spot. With every step I took away from her, I felt a part of me dragging me back to her. Don't be stupid, human. Go back. She might be in danger. Kyr growled in my head and my anger increased. I know you are a wolf, but I presumed you were wiser than that, I growled, increasing my pace. Don't insult me, human. I have no problem teaching you some manners. Kyr said, and I could tell he was provoked. I know you feel betrayed and hurt, but you should understand why she couldn't tell us. We spent the better part of our lives killing witches and exterminating clans ever since the incident. It's only normal she would think you accepted her because she had no powers. I felt a headache. What are you, Kyr? Ysera's advocate or my wolf? Don't tell me you've been bewitched by her too. You only spent a few hours with her on your back, and suddenly you are an expert in knowing the thought process of a witch. Why do I have to choose when I can be both your wolf and Ysera's advocate? I love the fact that you think I've been bewitched by her too. Makes me wonder how long it has been since you discovered you were bewitched and what you have done about it. You know what? I don't have time for this. You should be ashamed of yourself for trying to pit us together. Our mate is out there, and I feel ashamed of myself for even thinking of giving up the ghost orchid for someone as despicable as Ysera. We both know that's a lie. Kyr said, Stop being stubborn and go back to her. If she gets hurt, it would be on you. I couldn't help but notice the protectiveness of my wolf over Ysera. I wondered how, when, and why it started. I didn't have the opportunity to ponder more on it before I heard a loud and familiar scream of my name. Ysera. She was in trouble. Ysera. I can't expect the pain I felt watching Zadok walk away from me. I remember the urge that boiled within me, begging that I run after him, apologize to him, and tell him I never saw him as an enemy. Neither did I want to be his enemy. I wanted to hold him by his leg and tell him just how much of a coward I was to get clean with him after holding back the truth from the beginning. I needed him to know I was ready to give up the ghost orchid so he could find his mate if I could be in his good books. From the moment he came back for me at the Dragon's Cave, I fell hook, line, and sinker in love with him. I was ready to carry this love I have to the grave if it meant I got to see him happy with his mate. However, it was too late. I couldn't say that because it would be no use. I had broken Zadok's trust so foolishly and damned myself to a life of perpetual pain, agony, and sorrow, a life I was born to live. I walked towards the east, knowing fully that the forest's heart was the opposite way. I had lost every will to live, and I wished that I could die by yet another profane beast of the dark forest. Dying was the only way to ease the pain and fill the gaping hole in my heart. I didn't have anything to live for. Returning alive without the ghost orchid was a shame. I couldn't take in the Celts clan. I couldn't return to see the damage my decision might have caused either. The more I thought about it, the more dying seemed like the best option. My prayers got answered too quickly, and immediately I realized how wrong I had been. I wasn't ready to die. I stared a python in the face. I didn't have any weapons with me. I lost them while arguing with Zadok earlier on. I didn't even have Zadok with me. I was as good as dead. When the python opened its mouth wide and ready to swallow me, I screamed with every strength in me, calling the name that had saved me more than a few times already. I hoped he wasn't too far away, because that would mean my end, and I didn't want to end this way. After screaming Zadok's name as loud as I could, I took off in a run, going in a zigzag manner to get more time alive. Soon enough, my strength waned. If I kept this up, I would likely die from lack of breath before the python got to me. It's been a terrible minute. Zadok wasn't coming. Did he not hear me? Did I not scream loud enough? Did he choose to ignore me? 1,000 thoughts rushed into my mind as I prepared for what I believed to be my last breath on earth. I fell to the ground, weak and loss of breath. The python soon got to me, flashing me its deathly canines. I closed my eyes, ready to be swallowed, and I heard a large screech from the animal. My eyes flew open, and I saw a long spear made from wood buried inside the serpent's throat. I watched the serpent fall on its back, struggling to breathe and raising dust. Who was that? I wondered in fear, searching for the perpetrator of the act, also known as my savior. My eyes widened when I saw a familiar body walking up to me, taut, manly, and filled in all the right places. The dead butterflies in my stomach suddenly regained life and began their familiar flapping in my guts. My eyes pooled. Zadok, I leave you for 1 hour, and you nearly get yourself killed? He asked in a firm tone, leaving me short of words. You couldn't even defend yourself. Where is the strong girl I groomed to take care of herself? Since when did you become so weak? Every word cut me like a knife. Weak, defenseless, powerless. The mantra started in my head. I was still that girl. I hadn't learned anything. I had given up without a fight. I have become too dependent on Zadok. I couldn't even think for myself. I bit back tears. Why did you come back? I yelled in his face. Why did you fucking come back, huh? I pushed him. Why would you save your enemy? Because I can't let my enemy die at the hands of another. If my enemy is going to die, it better be at my hands, not some dark forest and not by fucking suicide. Do you understand me? He growled, and once again I was short for words. You will follow me, and we will get to the forest's heart. That is not up for debate. When we get there, we'll know who gets the orchid. Zadok said, and to my greatest surprise, he dragged me along with him. We journeyed in an uncomfortable silence till the sky darkened. There is still a day's journey ahead of us. We will pass the night here. Zadok said, dropping our possessions on the floor. I nodded, too weak to speak. I'll gather wood to burn the fire and maybe find us dinner. He added and walked away from me. A few minutes later, Zadok returned with wood for the fire. He instructed that I start the fire while he went hunting. As much as I doubted his ability to catch anything in this desert place, I obeyed his instruction and got to work. In addition to being terrible at defending myself, I realized I was a mess with starting campfires after multiple attempts of trial and failure. I sat on the floor, glaring at the wood and hoping they would just catch fire. Suddenly, I saw a flicker of light in the wooden assembly, and just like that, the fire started.